What's going on? This is a stock market recap for Monday, March 10th. Good evening. Obviously, we're seeing a bit more sustained selling. Overall, we are only down, we hit down 9.4% from our most recent all-time high. The last time we have seen a move like that was in July of 2024. And that bottomed us out. We hit daily oversold. That bottomed us out, and we resumed to all-time highs. Obviously, with this far of a drop, we would expect a lower high at this point. And this was quite a powerful bounce, and we bounced right up, right to the underneath the all-time high, and eventually we set that higher low and kept going. But we shouldn't be expecting that. But we are due for a weekly bounce nonetheless. And as I've been saying, the 4-hour trend is probably going to be our guide to where that weekly higher low gets set. That would be the first indicator, seeing a 4-hour higher low and a higher high. And obviously we need to see a hourly trend change before we can see a 4-hour trend change. But we are getting down to pretty high levels. Like, as far as dollar amount, we've probably in this dollar or this drop, we've probably lost as much dollar wise in the stock market as probably this entire COVID dump. Or at least, no, maybe not that much, but we are equivalent, getting up there as to how much we lost in the COVID dump. But in such a short period of time, dollar-wise, this has corrected quite a significant amount. And I am definitely interested in this bounce at this point, because it historically, daily oversold from an all-time high, you generally see the best bounces. And that's where I can get risk-free the easiest. And not to mention, we have 44 names that have made new all-time highs today. And some that ABBV has good volume. IBM was another name that stood out. There's IBM, lots of volume. KR was another name that stood out. The Kroger company. What are they? Retail. McDonald's is making new all-time highs. So these are the names lifting the market, and these are the names we should be focusing on. I know it seems like all these names that are so far down, they're like, oh, they're so juicy, and well, now there's a lot of work that needs to be done with these names. So something like Tesla, like, we are now down 50 some odd % from all-time highs. This is crazy. This is not something I want to be playing a bottom on. I will definitely play a bounce on this. Like, I would be interested in a gap down tomorrow as a further flush, and I would buy longer dated calls and be essentially looking to get risk-free on the first bounce that I see. But I mean, this is a straight down. Every candle here. Oh wait, no, we did see a little bounce. This is massive volume with this type of candle. It's telling me lower prices to come. And a bit of a climax candle today. But on the way back up, now we have all this resistance on the way back up. So that's why, why play the names that have huge resistance? And not to mention Nvidia and Palantir. Now, I mean, we have names making all-time highs, and why not play the names that are pulling up the market? What else we have here? PTGX. I don't like healthcare so much. Biotech. A lot. Yeah, that was the last sector to fall, was the healthcare sector. PayX. FinTech. McDonald's. But yeah, there's all names that are close to their all-time highs. And you know what happens? Like when the S&P finally bottoms out, those are the names that are going to get lifted the most because they're so close to their all-time highs. And they're the ones that will get bought up first and reach new highs. Generally speaking, those are the ones that will lift the market and see the most upside potential. And they're going to be the ones that are leading the next leg up. If that is what we see. Obviously, the more continued weakness we see in the S&P, the more risk we have for everything going down. But when we still have 44 names making all-time highs, I'm like, there is money shifting around, and we that's where we have to keep our focus. So yeah, I've got a bunch of alerts for those names that I mentioned, buying hourly, their first hourly or 4-hour oversold coming from all-time highs. And I'm still interested in longer dated calls for the S&P and maybe some of these other names, but I'm less interested in them. Just that's putting it simply, just because of how much resistance they have to get above. Like Tesla, I don't see this making a new all-time high this year. This would have to go over 100% now. We have to go 121% just to get back to all-time highs. That's just to get back. And would I be expecting a V-shape? No, I would be expecting maybe some kind of, like maybe an equilibrium or something to play out way down here or maybe way up here. But so much work to do. This is screaming red flags at me now. Tesla, I might play one bounce on it. If that is unsuccessful, I'm just going to move on. The NASDAQ is obviously very weak as well. We are in a weekly downtrend. This got a ton of confirmation follow through here. And we are just looking for that monthly higher low. We are now below the monthly 12 moving average. Looking for that monthly higher low than here. But there's lots of room to the downside potential, and if we do see more downside, then that increases the risk that this could be a head and shoulders on the tech sector, essentially. Then what happens if the tech sector sees a bear market? We got to be following wherever the money is going. Follow the money. That's the best advice I could give, is follow the money. Watch what's making new all-time highs, and if you stick with those names, you'll have more fun than if you stick with Tesla or the names you know, just because, I don't know. Like we're at big risk now for a lot of these names. Maybe they will bounce. Maybe that is their bottom, and we're just up from there on. But it's going to be a long road back to all-time highs for those names. And SMH, the best thing we're hoping for is a monthly equilibrium at this point, but we need to make it higher low than 199.61, or this is essentially a giant head and shoulders, and we could see significant downside. And we could be looking at these 157 level way back here as a potential place where it gravitates from. And we are looking for a quarterly higher low at this point. So this takes a long time to play out. We need to start seeing some trend changes daily, but this, for how much the SMH and all the semiconductors went up, I'm losing interest at this point. We're potentially going to lose our monthly uptrend and turn into a monthly downtrend at this point. So those names that you loved on the way up, maybe this is the time to start looking elsewhere. And although they could be great buying opportunities, they could also be, this is where the bags are going to get thrown on you, and we're such a deal here. And I'll even go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is looking for that monthly higher low. We have quite a bit of room on this, and then we could be looking at a monthly head and shoulders. So there's caution on that. We are still above the 12 moving average on the monthly, so I'm going to assume we're going to be bullish until we lose this definitively. And if we close below it, then I'll be more convinced that is probably the top for quite a while. and now we have lots of resistance on the way back up. So I know like people don't like hearing this, but I think it's time that we start looking in different areas than the regular tech that we're used to, because it won't always be straight up, essentially. And we may see a prolonged down period. We did here in 2022. Overall, that was SMH in 2022 dropped 45%. That's crazy. That is quite a big number to hold on for. And the S&P dropped 26%. Tech dropped 37. So this, we have to be cautious of a move like this. We have to be cautious of a potential, well, where does this lower high come from? And that is why I'm just going to be playing this as a bounce and a bounce only, and I will assess where does that lower high come from. Are the bears buying the first hourly overbought or the first 4 hour overbought, and is that marking the new low or new lower high before we head back down again? And that would be telling me we are in a strong bear market. So we haven't even got hourly overbought yet on, like, since this drop. We haven't even made it to hourly overbought. That we were close here, but on the S&P, it's just been a pretty straight drop. And at some point we will have to correct and we will hit a hourly overbought, but and that is the time when I want to be de-risked. So everything is keeping the same until we change the hourly trend. Looks like the NASDAQ is already breaking into new lows after hours in futures. So NASDAQ's just continuing the weakest. Semiconductors just have been leading the way down. Currently, semiconductors are holding the low of the day so far, but the rest of the NASDAQ has already hit new lows. The Dow, just looking for a potential higher low, hourly higher low at this point, but the Dow is weak. Everything is weak, and when everything comes down together, that is when fear is setting in. And as I was saying here, we had a potential, I can't remember, but this was a potential, we basically just triple topped on up here and rolled over. But this is a big red flag. If we just break down here and then bounce and head back up, well, that was a bit of a fake out, and I'd give more credit to the bulls. But at this time, with the volume of this move, we have to be cautious that we could be potentially seeing a lot more bears, a lot more downside than what we are seeing. The Russell, obviously this head and shoulders was very legit and seeing a lot of follow through now. Was that a monthly trend change? No, it wasn't. This is a straight monthly drop, but it was a weekly trend change. And now we are down 19% from the all-time highs of the Russell. So not the best look. We could be seeing this as a potential cup and handle, but as a long-term pattern. But actually we're losing the 0.5. Yeah, this is just not good overall for the Russell, and I see why there's a lot of panic. I'm staying away from the names that aren't established and are speculative. Those are the names that dump off the worst, and if they're not profitable, they're speculative essentially. So as I was saying, I'm interested if we hit down 10%. I have an alert set for down 10%. I did make my initial entry down 7.5%, I believe. Somewhere around there. And so I'm interested in a buy at 10% down and 12% 12 to 13%. I'll see if something comes up a pattern comes up or a flush comes that I'm interested in, but that is what I'm looking at for buys as far as waiting for the bounce. It is very possible we could try and flush this monthly support. Very possible. Anything is possible, so I just caution that if you don't know what you're doing, now is not a time to be going all in on things. This is the time to kind of take a step back. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, this is very counter trend at this point. And if I could suggest anything, wait for the 4-hour trend to change bullish. And you want it to stay bullish. Like, if it's just changes the 4-hour trend and you get no follow through and straight down, well, that was a fake out, and it just cooled off enough to send you down more. So I'm looking for that 4-hour trend change. Whatever happens, I'll be definitely, when we get the 4-hour trend change, I'd be interested on a pullback and buying that pullback just to give me a little bit more room for a nearby support, because I don't want to be buying and have a huge, like, if we bounce this far and then set a higher low, and then I wouldn't be buying that breakout. I want to see a nearby 4-hour support that I can hang my hat off and play off of, so I minimize my downside risk. So everything is obviously getting very oversold. Meta approaching its first daily oversold since all-time highs. It's got the 200 moving average underneath. Oh, sorry. Jesus. We are just looking at a weekly head and shoulders. When this does top out, or bottom out, sorry. And we are looking for that monthly higher low. This was a quick monthly higher low that we set way down here at 548, and that's also close to where its monthly 12 moving averages. So it's potential that is where the bears are taking this. So cautious, and we're still seeing sustained selling pressure volume. So I keep mentioning, just be cautious. Nvidia, it's got a little bit more to go, daily oversold. We have our monthly double top here, and we are looking for a monthly lower high than $90.68. So, and then at that point, we would be looking at a head and shoulders. That is the big caution. It's possible we could break through this and then no follow through and then bounce. It's possible we could hold this, but these are potential scenarios that we're playing out now. Now that we've pulled back this far, I'm cautious wherever this bottoms out, and this, you want to see the daily trend change mark the monthly higher low. Or actually, technically, you want the daily oversold to mark the monthly. Excuse me. The daily oversold to mark the monthly higher low, which we're not there yet, but we are quickly approaching. We got a little fair ways to go. Maybe a break of 100 could be the trigger on this, but that is speculating at this point. Tesla, we saw more selling pressure after hours. I'd be interested in a gap down open tomorrow. I would very much be watching that. Maybe around the 200, maybe a break of 200 I would be interested in. And that would be strictly for a bounce play. We'll have to see what tomorrow brings us, but I have a feeling we're going to start seeing some gap down opens, and that could show bear exhaustion and could be a sign that the bears are getting tired and be bounce plays anyways. And then, like, look at the last daily bounce, the daily bounce before that. These are not that big of moves, but they're big enough that we should be able, like, to be good at this, you need to be able to get risk-free in these little bounces. So now, we're seeing, this is huge volume. Huge volume is just telling me lower prices to come, and that gap down open tomorrow could could mark a potential temporary bottom before we see a lower high. And even when this does bottom, we're just looking for a daily lower high than 303.94. And say we gap down, we're around 203. That's 50% away, and we would still make a daily lower high. So this has so much resistance on it. It's not even funny at this point. Obviously, Elon Musk and what he's doing with the government, shareholders are not liking it. Maybe he will have to take a step back from Doge or something, because shareholders are not liking what he's doing, and this is getting a bit rough. Palantir, we're just looking. We have a support nearby here, actually, at 72.67, but we are at risk of now this monthly head and shoulders. That is a potential, more visible on the weekly. But yeah, once this bottoms out, this is very sustained selling. This is telling me that this is the top for a long period of time. We probably won't see these prices for a little while, just with how this price action is going. And then yeah, once we bounce on the weekly, when we see a 4-hour trend change, we'll see if that is just a head and shoulders, because Palantir is way overvalued, and I was saying that we're going to see a 50% drop easy from the all-time highs, yeah. And that would be putting us along that 63 level. Straight drop, just a straight drop down. And that's because it's just so overvalued. Like there's no justification for why this happened. It went up 2,000% in a couple years. That's crazy. That's impossible. Like technically to keep up with that dollar, that revenue stream, that just doesn't happen. Apple, we're just looking at a potential weekly equilibrium now. Need to hold that 219 level, or we risk that this is a head and shoulders as well, and then we're opening up all this area. So caution on Apple. IBM, new all-time highs. See, I've got an alert set for first hourly oversold. I want to see what happens there. I'll play a bounce on that. Google, now we're risking this for a monthly head and shoulders. No sign of the bulls yet, just a straight weekly drop. And whenever this, like I said, the 4-hour trend change, we've probably never seen a 4-hour trend change. Nope, didn't happen. We got a little bit one with no follow through right here, which turned into a rising wedge. So that's the thing. If you get a break above with no follow through, then you start looking at a rising wedge, and that's exactly what this turned into, and then straight down into new lows. So we need to change the 4-hour trend, and then we need to sustain. You need to get follow through on these 4-hour trend changes as well. Otherwise, they just turn into rising wedges, and that's a bearish pattern, headed back into new lows. Amazon, pretty sustained selling. Still looking for its weekly higher low and monthly higher low. A lot of room for it to go down, but that's a lot of room for the bulls to actually step in. We are less at risk for losing this support or the monthly head and shoulders. We're still above the 12 moving average. Baba, just got this double top here, and now we're at risk of possibly rolling over on Baba as well. We need to set a daily higher low, and then we would just be looking at an equilibrium at this point if we can get a daily higher low than 126.10. AMD, probably just garbage, as I suspected. When the leader of the space is doing bad, I expect this to be doing way worse, because this is nowhere near the leader. Daily bear flag, essentially, and we're trying to roll over. Got this 93.12 for our nearest support, And then we are a giant head and shoulders. Actually, we might consider this a quarterly head and shoulders. But doesn't look good. We're in a monthly downtrend, still looking for that monthly higher low than 93.12, or quarterly higher low than 93.12, and we need to see a daily trend change come from this daily trend change, and that's nowhere in sight yet. We are just bear flagging. Looks pretty rough. RGTI, this was essentially just a bear flag. Now we're looking to possibly confirm that. Let's see how much this retraced. Yeah, well, we got to the 0.5, but it seems like a pretty firm rejection from this 12 moving average and heading back down. Now we have this low here, and then we're just looking at the $5.95 and $6 lows, or $7, yeah, $7 even, and $6 even, and $5.95 eventually. And we're just hoping that we see a weekly higher low and shape up this weekly equilibrium. Otherwise, we're at risk of losing the weekly trend, and then we open up all this area, and potentially we can head back to this previous high. Microsoft, now we're changed the monthly trend to bearish now. It's broken down. We have the monthly 12 EMA as resistance. I mean, the best hope is that we defend here, and we'll call this a monthly or a quarterly bear flag with no follow through, or sorry, a monthly trend change with no follow through, which we could call it a quarterly bear flag still, potentially. But we need to see the bulls pick up here, change the weekly trend. We're just looking for a quarterly higher low. I mean, we're looking a quarterly higher low than 215, or sorry, 208. So now we're getting into these larger time frames. And potentially we may want to backtest this previous all-time high at 340. So yeah, we're looking pretty rough across the boards. I'm sticking just to the ETF for the most part. Tesla is pretty extreme to the downside. It's getting there. Palantir I might play. Like gap down open type thing. But if we see a bounce there and it's a weak bounce, I might have to cut that. But yeah, I'm just playing the S&P 500 itself, just because these are the best 500 companies. And the reason why I won't play individual names is just because, like, exactly like Tesla, exactly like Palantir, these are so far from their recent highs now that it has so much more resistance to go to the upside. Okay, and there are names making all-time highs, so that should be our focus. All right, take care. I may see you for the pre-market. I'm just not feeling well, so take care. Bye.